The ground shook under Kretal Voss's feet as the massive drilling machine pushed deeper into the moon's surface. He wiped the sweat from his blue-scaled forehead and checked his scanner again. 3 kilometers down, and still the metal signature grew stronger. "This doesn't make sense," he said to his assistant Zilf Nordan. "Nothing should be buried this deep, not on a dead moon like this one." Zilf looked up from her own equipment. Her large eyes sparkled with excitement. "Maybe it's natural metal deposits. This moon is old. Really old." Commander Thurok walked over to them. His thick arms crossed over his chest. The military officer always looked worried about something. Today, he looked more worried than usual. "How much longer?" Thurok asked. "My superiors want answers. We've been digging for 2 months. Kretal pointed at his scanner. "The object is huge, at least 2 kilometers long, maybe longer. We should reach it in a few more hours." The 3 aliens stood on the surface of the 4th moon of Kepler 442b. The star system was far from their homeworlds, very far. Most people never came here. It was empty space, with nothing interesting to see. That's what made this discovery so strange. 2 months ago, a cargo ship had stopped here to fix their engines. While waiting, they ran a deep scan of the moon's surface. They found something that shouldn't exist, a metal object, buried deep underground. Something artificial, something big. The Vorthak Archaeological Society sent Kretal and his team to investigate. The military sent Commander Thurok to watch them. Nobody knew what they would find, but everyone was curious. The drilling machine made a loud grinding sound, then stopped. A technician ran over to Kretal. "Sir, we've hit something solid. The drill can't go any deeper." Kretal's heart raced. After months of work, they had finally reached it. He grabbed his equipment and headed for the drill platform. Zilf and Thurok followed close behind. The drill had made a perfect round hole in the ground. Metal cables lowered them down into the darkness. Their lights cut through the black emptiness as they descended. 3 kilometers felt like forever. When they reached the bottom, Kretal couldn't believe his eyes. The drill had punched through into a large empty space, but the floor wasn't rock or dirt. It was metal, smooth, clean metal that reflected their lights like a mirror. "By the stars," Zilf whispered. "What is this place?" Kretal knelt down and touched the metal surface. It was warm, not hot but warm like something alive. He pulled out his scanner and ran it over the floor. The readings made him frown. "This metal, it's not in our database. I've never seen anything like it." Commander Thurok walked around the small area, his weapon ready. Military training made him careful of everything new. "Could it be a ship? Some kind of vessel?" "If it is, it's the biggest ship I've ever heard of," Kretal said. He stood up and looked around. "But you're right. This feels artificial. Made by someone. The question is who?" They set up lights and began to explore. The metal surface stretched out beyond their lights in every direction. Strange symbols covered parts of the floor. The symbols looked like writing, but not like any language in the galactic database. Zilf took pictures of everything. Her excitement grew with each new discovery. "Kretal, look at this. These symbols, they're everywhere. Someone tried to tell us something." "The universal translator isn't working on them," Kretal said, checking his equipment. "That's very strange. The translator works on every known language." Commander Thurok pointed his light at a raised area in the distance. "There's something over there. Looks like a structure." They walked toward the raised area. Their boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The structure turned out to be a door, or at least something that looked like a door. It was perfectly smooth, with no handles or obvious way to open it. "How do we get in?" Zilf asked. Kretal studied the door carefully. More symbols covered its surface. He traced them with his finger, trying to understand their meaning. As he touched the symbols, they began to glow with soft blue light. "Did you see that?" he said. The symbols responded to touch. "Maybe it's a security system," Thurok said. "Be careful." But Kretal was too curious to be careful. He pressed his hand against the center of the door. The symbols glowed brighter. Then something amazing happened. The door simply disappeared. Not opened, not slid away, just vanished like it was never there. Impossible, Thurok breathed. Beyond the door was a corridor. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all made of the same strange metal. Soft lights turned on automatically as they stepped inside. The corridor stretched out ahead of them, disappearing into darkness. Someone's home system is still working, Zilf said. After all this time buried underground, it still has power. They walked slowly down the corridor. More symbols covered the walls. Some areas had pictures too. Pictures of creatures that walked on two legs like the aliens did. But these creatures looked different. They had smooth skin instead of scales, hair on their heads instead of crests, and they wore strange clothing. Who were these people? Krital wondered aloud. The corridor opened into a larger room. This room was full of machines, silent machines that hummed with quiet power. In the center of the room was a large chair, facing a wall covered with dark screens. Zilf approached one of the machines. These systems are incredible. The technology is far beyond anything we have. Commander Thurok stayed near the entrance, watching everything carefully. This doesn't feel right. Why would someone bury a ship like this? Why hide it underground? Krital walked to the central chair. It looked like it was made for someone his size. He sat down carefully. As soon as he did, the wall of screens came to life. Images and symbols flashed across them, too fast to follow. Krital, get away from there, Thurok shouted. But it was too late. The room filled with a strange humming sound. The machines began working faster. Lights flashed everywhere. Then suddenly, everything stopped. The screens went dark. The humming stopped. Even the soft corridor lights dimmed. What did you do? Zilf asked. Before Krital could answer, one screen flickered back to life. A face appeared on it. The face of one of the smooth-skinned, two-legged creatures from the wall pictures. The creature's mouth moved, and sounds came from speakers in the walls. The universal translator struggled with the words, but slowly, meaning began to form. Greetings, the creature said. If you are seeing this message, then you have found what we left behind. We are humans, and we have been waiting a very long time for someone to find us. The three aliens stared at the screen in shock. The creature on the screen was long dead, they knew. This was just a recording. But the eyes seemed to look right at them. My name is Hyan Wu, the human continued. I was a doctor and scientist. This ship is called the Eternal Vigil. It contains the most important knowledge of our people. Knowledge that you will need when the time comes. The screen flickered and went dark again. The room returned to its quiet state. But everything had changed. The three aliens looked at each other with new understanding. They had not just found an old ship. They had found something much more important. They had found the first proof that the legendary precursor race was real. And these humans had left them a message. Commander Thurok spoke first. We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. This discovery changes everything. Krital nodded, but his mind was racing. What knowledge had the humans left behind? Why did they think other people would need it? And most importantly, what were they waiting for? The answers lay somewhere in this vast ship, buried under 3 kilometers of rock and dirt. As they prepared to leave and report their discovery, none of them realized that they had just taken the first step toward uncovering the greatest secret in galactic history. 3 days later, Krital returned to the ship with a larger team. The Galactic Council had sent experts from 5 different worlds. Everyone wanted to understand what the humans had left behind. Dr. Velak, the galaxy's best computer specialist, worked on the main systems. Engineer Morik studied the strange metal walls. Linguist Train tried to decode the human symbols. And Commander Thurok brought more soldiers just in case. The ship is much bigger than we thought, Krital told the team. Our scans show it goes on for 2 full kilometers, maybe longer. They had entered through the same corridor as before, but now they explored deeper into the ship. New rooms opened up before them. Some were filled with machines. Others had rows and rows of empty beds. Strange beds that looked like they could hold sleeping people. These look like medical beds, Dr. Velak said, examining one closely. But the design is very advanced. More advanced than our best hospitals. Zilf, found something even more interesting. In one large room, she discovered hundreds of small chambers. Each chamber was just big enough for one person. Tubes and wires connected them all to a central system. Stasis pods, she breathed. These are stasis pods. The humans could sleep for long periods of time. Commander Thurrock counted the pods. There are exactly 1,000 of them. This ship could carry 1,000 people. But where are they now? Engineer Morix asked. All the pods are empty. They continued exploring. Each room revealed new mysteries. The humans had built their ship to last forever. The walls showed no signs of age. The systems still had power after thousands of years. Underground. Everything was perfect, as if time had stopped the moment the ship was buried. In what appeared to be the ship's center, they found the most important room yet. It was huge, with a high ceiling that disappeared into shadows. Machines lined every wall. In the center sat 3 special chairs, different from all the others they had seen. Dr. Velak approached one of the chairs carefully. These aren't just seats. They're connected to the main computer system. Whoever sat here could control the entire ship. As he spoke, the room came alive. Lights blazed on everywhere. The machines began to hum with power, and the 3 central chairs began to glow. Everyone stand back, Commander Thurrock ordered. His soldiers raised their weapons, but nothing dangerous happened. Instead, the air above the 3 chairs began to shimmer. Slowly, 3 figures appeared. They looked solid and real, but Kreetal could see through them. They were made of light. The figures were humans, 2 males and 1 female. They wore clothes that looked like uniforms. One was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. The other 2 were younger, strong-looking people who stood like soldiers. The older human stepped forward. When he spoke, the universal translator worked perfectly. "Welcome to the Eternal Vigil," he said. "I am Dr. Hyun Woo. These are Captain Sujin and Engineer Bo-Ram. We have been waiting for someone to find us." The aliens stared in amazement. Commander Thurrock kept his weapon ready, but the humans showed no signs of threat. "You're not really here," Zilf said. "You're some kind of recording." Dr. Hyun Woo smiled. "Not exactly. We are what remains of ourselves. Our bodies died long ago, but we saved our minds, our memories, our knowledge. We exist now only as information, stored in this ship's computers." Captain Sujin stepped forward. She was tall and strong, with scars on her face that spoke of many battles. "We need to know who you are, what species, what time period. The galaxy changes, and we must understand the current situation." Engineer Bo-Ram was shorter than the others, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She studied the aliens carefully. "You have achieved interstellar travel. Good. You've learned to work together as different species. Also good. But have you faced any real threats yet?" Commander Thurrock lowered his weapon but stayed alert. "Threats? The galaxy has been at peace for over 3,000 years. The worst we face are pirates and trade disputes." The 3 humans looked at each other. Dr. Hyun Woo's expression grew sad. "Then you are not ready," he said quietly. "You are not ready for what is coming." "What do you mean?" Kreetal asked. "What's coming?" Captain Sujin waved her hand, and the room changed. The walls disappeared, replaced by a view of space. But this was not the peaceful space the aliens knew. This space was filled with war. Huge ships fought desperate battles among the stars. Explosions lit up the darkness. Worlds burned. And in the middle of it all, humans fought against enemies that looked like nightmares. "We fought 3 great wars," Captain Sujin said. "Each one threatened to destroy all life in the galaxy. We won, but the cost was terrible." The images changed. Now they saw a different enemy. These looked like machines but moved like living things. They swarmed over planets, turning everything into more machines. "The Silicon Hegemony," Engineer Bo-Ram explained. "They wanted to convert all organic life into machine intelligence. We fought them for 1,000 years." More images flashed by. This time the enemies were even stranger. They seemed to be made of darkness itself, creatures that hurt to look at. "The void touched," Dr. Hyun Woo said. They came from the space between galaxies. They wanted to unmake reality itself, return everything to emptiness and silence. But you won, Dr. Velek said. You defeated them all. Yes, Captain Sujin replied. But we learned something terrible. These threats follow a pattern. Every 100,000 years something new emerges from the void, something worse than what came before. The space battle images faded away. The room returned to normal. The three humans stood silently for a moment. We realized we could not face the fourth threat in our physical forms, Dr. Hyan Wu continued. We had grown beyond the need for bodies, but we could not abandon the galaxy to face the next extinction alone. Engineer Boram gestured to the ship around them. So we built 12 ships like this one. Each contains different aspects of human knowledge: military tactics, weapon designs, strategic thinking, everything we learned from 100,000 years of war. Why hide them? Sylph asked. Why bury them underground? Because knowledge like this is dangerous, Captain Sujin said. In the wrong hands, it could be used to conquer instead of protect. It could turn your peaceful galaxy into a war zone. Dr. Hyan Wu stepped closer to the aliens. But when the real threat comes, when your people face true extinction, then this knowledge becomes necessary. Then it becomes the difference between survival and death. Commander Thurok felt a chill run through his body. How do we know when the real threat arrives? The humans exchanged looks again. Engineer Boram manipulated controls that appeared in the air around her. New displays showed star charts and energy readings. Your long-range sensors will detect massive energy signatures at the galaxy's edge, she said. Signatures that match no known technology. Ships that seem to break the laws of physics. Worlds that simply disappear, as if they never existed. When you see these things, Captain Sujin added, then you will know. The fourth extinction has begun. The room fell, silent. The aliens looked at each other with new fear and understanding. Their peaceful galaxy was living on borrowed time. What do we do now? Kretal asked. Dr. Hyan Wu smiled sadly. Now you must decide. Do you want to know what we have to teach you? Are you ready to learn how humans wage war? Because once you start down this path, there is no going back. The knowledge will change you forever. And if we choose not to learn? Dr. Velek asked. Captain Sujin's expression hardened. Then when the time comes, you will face the same choice every other species has faced. Fight with what you have and lose. Or surrender and die. Engineer Boram added quietly. But there is a third option. Learn from us. Adapt our methods to your abilities. Use our knowledge to forge something new and stronger. The three humans began to fade as the ship's power systems cycled down. Take time to think, Dr. Hyan Wu said as he became transparent. Discuss this with your leaders, but remember we did not hide this knowledge to keep it secret forever. We hid it until it was needed. And that time, Captain Sujin's voice echoed as she disappeared, is coming sooner than you think. The room went dark except for the soft emergency lighting. The aliens stood in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. They had come here looking for ancient artifacts. Instead, they had found a warning about the future. Commander Thurok was the first to speak. We need to contact the Galactic Council, immediately. This information cannot wait. As they prepared to leave the ship, none of them noticed the faint energy readings beginning to register on their long-range sensors. Far out at the galaxy's edge, something was stirring in the darkness between the stars. The Galactic Council chambers had never been so full. Representatives from every major world crowded into the Great Hall. News of the human ship had spread quickly through the galaxy. Everyone wanted answers. Kretal stood at the central podium, nervous but determined. Behind him, large screens showed images from inside the Eternal Vigil. The crowd murmured with excitement and fear. Members of the council, Kretal began, what we found changes everything we thought we knew about galactic history. The humans were real, and they left us a warning. Council leader Vextar, an ancient being with 6 arms and wise eyes, leaned forward in his chair. Dr. Voss, please explain exactly what these humans told you. Kretal activated the recording systems. The chamber fell silent as the holographic forms of Dr. Haiyan Wu, Captain Sujin, and Engineer Bo-Ram appeared in the center of the room. The humans told their story again, about the Great Wars, about the pattern of extinction threats, about the knowledge they had hidden in 12 ships across the galaxy. When they finished, the council chamber erupted in discussion. "This could be a trick," shouted Representative Krell from the warlike Brutak Empire. "Ancient aliens trying to make us afraid." "Or it could be the truth," replied Representative Senna from the Peaceful Harmony Worlds. "And we should listen to their warning." Council Leader Vextar raised one of his hands for silence. "Dr. Voss, were you able to verify any of these claims? Do we have proof that these wars actually happened?" Kretal nodded. "We were given access to some of their historical records. The humans showed us battles that took place 100,000 years ago. The detail is incredible. Too detailed to be fake." Dr. Haiyan Wu's hologram stepped forward. "If the council wishes, we can provide more evidence. But first, you must understand what you are asking for. Human military knowledge is not like other species warfare. We did not simply build bigger weapons or stronger armor." The hologram gestured, and the chamber filled with new images. Space battles unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Human ships that seemed tiny compared to their enemies, but moved in ways that made no sense. "We learned to think differently," Captain Sujin explained. "When facing impossible odds, we adapted. When our enemies had better technology, we found new tactics. When they had greater numbers, we fought smarter." Engineer Bo-Ram added, "Human warfare is about finding advantages where none should exist. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. We used our enemies' power against them." A new voice spoke from the council seats. "Show us an example." The humans looked at each other. Dr. Haiyan Wu nodded slowly. "Very well. But remember, you asked to see this." The chamber transformed. The wall, ceiling, and floor disappeared. Everyone felt like they were floating in space watching a battle from long ago. They saw a human fleet of maybe 50 ships. Around them swarmed thousands of enemy vessels, each one bigger than the largest human ship. The enemy had every advantage. Numbers, size, weapons, armor. "This is the Battle of Proxima Gate," Captain Sujin narrated. "We were completely outnumbered. Any normal military would have retreated or surrendered. But the humans did neither. Instead, they did something that made no sense. They split their tiny fleet into even smaller groups and flew straight into the enemy formation. "They're committing suicide," someone whispered from the council seats. "Watch," Engineer Bo-Ram said quietly. The human ships didn't attack the enemy directly. Instead, they flew complex patterns between the massive enemy vessels. Their weapons fired constantly, but not at the ships. They aimed at empty space. It took several minutes before the aliens watching realized what was happening. The human weapons were creating debris fields, clouds of metal and rock that drifted through space. The enemy ships focused on chasing. The humans flew right into these debris clouds. The big enemy ships couldn't change direction quickly. They crashed into the debris, into each other, into anything the humans put in their path. In less than an hour, the massive enemy fleet was reduced to scattered wreckage. 50 human ships destroyed over 3,000 enemy vessels, Captain Sujin said as the battle images faded. "We didn't win because our ships were better. We won because we thought differently." The council chamber was completely silent. The representatives stared at each other in shock and awe. Representative Krell spoke first, his voice shaking. "That was brilliant. Terrifying, but brilliant. And this is just one example," Dr. Haiyan Wu said. "We have records of thousands of such battles, each one teaching different lessons about warfare, strategy, and survival." Council Leader Vextar stood up from his chair. "Dr. Haiyan Wu, if your warnings are true, if another extinction threat is coming, when will it arrive?" The human hologram looked sad. "Based on historical patterns, it should have arrived already. The fourth extinction, is overdue by several thousand years. That could mean it will be worse than the previous 3, or it could mean the pattern is broken, Representative Senna said hopefully. Engineer Boram shook her head. Our sensors detected something in the void between galaxies just before we transcended our physical forms. Something vast and hungry. It was coming, but slowly, taking its time. The chamber erupted in worried discussions. Representatives talked quickly with their advisors and sent messages to their homeworlds. Captain Sujin waited for quiet, then continued. We need to tell you something else. Something that makes this situation more urgent. She gestured and new images appeared. Star charts showing the galaxy's outer edge. Red warning symbols flashed in several locations. Your own sensors have been detecting energy signatures at the galaxy's rim for the past 6 months. Your scientists have dismissed them as natural phenomena. But we recognize these signatures. Dr. Haiyan Wu stepped forward. The 4th extinction has already begun. Those energy readings match exactly what we detected before the previous 3 threats arrived. Panic spread through the chamber. Representatives jumped up from their seats. Some shouted orders to their assistants, others demanded immediate military mobilization. Silence. Council Leader Vextar's voice boomed through the chamber. Dr. Haiyan Wu, what exactly are we facing? What is this 4th extinction? The 3 human holograms looked at each other grimly. Dr. Haiyan Wu spoke slowly, carefully. We don't know exactly. Each extinction threat was different from the last. The first were beings that consumed matter for energy. The second were machines that converted organic life. The third were entities that attacked reality itself. The 4th will be something new, Captain Sujin added. Something we never had to face. But based on the energy signatures, it will be worse than all the others combined. Engineer Boram brought up technical displays. The readings suggest they can manipulate space-time itself. They might be able to erase entire star systems from existence, not destroy them, but make it as if they never existed at all. The chamber fell into shocked silence again. The magnitude of the threat was almost impossible to comprehend. Representative Senna spoke quietly. If this threat is so powerful, what hope do we have? Even with human knowledge, how can we fight beings that can erase reality? Dr. Haiyan Wu smiled for the first time since appearing in the chamber. Because that is exactly the kind of impossible situation humans specialized in. We fought enemies that could consume stars. We defeated machines that could convert planets. We stopped beings that could tear holes in reality itself. The key, Captain Sujin said, is not to fight them the way they expect, not to match their power with our own, but to find their weaknesses and exploit them. Engineer Boram added, every enemy we faced seemed impossible to defeat, but they all had one thing in common. They were predictable. They followed patterns, and patterns can be broken. Council Leader Vextar looked around the chamber at all the worried faces. Very well. Dr. Haiyan Wu, what do you need from us? How do we begin learning human warfare? Dr. Haiyan Wu became more solid-looking, as if the ship was putting more power into his hologram. First, we need to activate the other 11 ships. Each contains different knowledge: military tactics, weapon designs, strategic philosophy, engineering principles. Second, Captain Sujin continued, we need to begin training your best military minds. Human warfare is not just about tactics, it's about thinking in ways that seem impossible. And third, Engineer Boram finished, we need to start building defenses, not the kind you're used to, human defenses, the kind that turn the galaxy itself into a weapon. As the council session ended and representatives hurried back to their homeworlds, one thing was clear. The peaceful galaxy they had known was ending. The age of human warfare was about to begin. In the darkness at the galaxy's edge, the energy signatures grew stronger. Something ancient and hungry was stirring, ready to face a galaxy that had learned to fight like humans. The first star system died on a Tuesday. One moment, the Kepler 186 system existed with its 5 planets and billions of inhabitants. The next moment, it was gone. Not destroyed, not consumed, simply absent, as if it had never existed at all. Only the gravitational effects remained, invisible holes in space where matter used to be. Across the galaxy, every long-range sensor recorded the same impossible event. Entire solar systems were being edited out of reality itself. Captain Sujin's hologram appeared in the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Her expression was grim, but determined. It has begun. The fourth extinction is no longer approaching. It is here. The council chamber was in chaos. Representatives screamed questions and demands. Their homeworlds were panicking. Entire fleets were mobilizing, though no one knew where to send them. "How do we fight an enemy that can erase reality?" shouted Representative Krell over the noise. "The same way humans always fought impossible enemies," Captain Sujin replied. "We adapt, we find their weakness, and we exploit it." War Master Yunji's hologram appeared beside her. "All 12 ships are now active. Every human consciousness we preserved is awakening. The galaxy will have access to our complete military knowledge." Around the galaxy, buried vessels that had slept for millennia came to life. Human holograms appeared on dozens of worlds, each bringing different aspects of humanity's war-fighting wisdom. On the military world of Corexis, General Hammer materialized in the Strategic Command Center. He had been humanity's greatest defensive specialist. "Your fortifications are useless against this enemy," he told the shocked alien generals. "Walls cannot stop beings that exist outside normal space. You must learn to defend without defenses." On the peaceful world of Serenity, philosopher warrior Subin appeared before the frightened population. She had been humanity's expert on psychological warfare. "Fear is a weapon," she told them, "but it cuts both ways. Learn to use your enemies' confidence against them." On the industrial world of Maker's Pride, Engineer Kyung-ho began teaching alien scientists how to build impossible weapons. "Your technology follows your expectations," he explained. "But what if you built devices that shouldn't work but do anyway?" At the galaxy's edge, the first contact with the fourth extinction occurred near the frontier world of Haven's Rest. The planetary defense fleet consisted of 47 ships of various alien designs. They faced something that hurt to look at directly. The extinction entities defied description. They seemed to be made of twisted space-time itself, geometric shapes that folded in on themselves in ways that violated physical laws. They moved, without propulsion, existed without matter, and communicated through reality distortions that drove observers insane. Commander Thurok, now promoted to admiral, led the defense fleet. In his ship's holographic chamber, War Master Yunji provided tactical guidance. "Do not look at them directly," she instructed. "Do not try to understand what they are. Focus only on what they do and how to counter it." The extinction entities approached the defense fleet with casual confidence. They had erased countless civilizations across the universe. These primitive aliens with their crude ships posed no threat. But Admiral Thurok had learned human warfare. Instead of forming a battle line and engaging the enemy directly, he scattered his fleet across a vast area of space. Each ship carried special equipment designed using human principles. The extinction entities reached out with reality-warping fields, preparing to erase the alien ships from existence. But when their power touched the scattered fleet, something unexpected happened. The ships didn't disappear. Instead, they reflected the erasure energy back at the entities using devices that shouldn't have worked but did. Mirror shields that reflected non-physical attacks, quantum anchors that kept reality stable, probability scramblers that made impossible things possible. For the first time in their existence, the extinction entities felt surprise. Their fundamental attack had been turned against them. Several of the entities flickered and began to fade. "Now," War Master Yunji commanded, "while they are confused, attack their assumptions, not their bodies." Admiral Thurok's fleet opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. They used paradox cannons that fired contradictory statements, logic bombs that exploited flaws in reality, existence scramblers that questioned whether the entities had ever been real. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, the extinction entities had retreated for the first time in their cosmic history. Admiral Thurok had lost half his fleet, But he had proven something important. The fourth extinction could be fought. News of the victory spread across the galaxy in minutes. For the first time since the crisis began, there was hope. But War Master Yunji warned against overconfidence. This was just their advanced scouts. The real force is still coming, and now they know we can hurt them. She was right. The extinction entities regrouped and began a systematic assault on the galaxy. They came in vast swarms using new tactics designed to counter the human-taught defenses. Captain Su Jin took direct command of the unified galactic fleet. Ships from dozens of worlds fought under human tactical doctrine. The peaceful harmony worlds learned to wage asymmetric warfare. The proud Brutak warriors learned to fight without honor, when honor would mean defeat. The decisive battle came at the galaxy's spiral arms, where the extinction entities tried to establish a permanent foothold in normal spacetime. If they succeeded, they could begin the systematic erasure of every world. The galactic fleet faced impossible odds. Thousands of extinction entities filled the void, reality bending around them like water around stones. Conventional sensors couldn't even count them accurately, but the fleet fought like humans. They didn't try to match the entity's reality-warping power. Instead, they used guerrilla tactics on a galactic scale, hit-and-run attacks that struck at the entity's attempt to anchor themselves in normal space, sabotage missions that disrupted their reality distortions, psychological warfare that exploited the entity's inability to understand biological thinking. Scholar Tae Wan, appearing as a hologram throughout the fleet, provided the key insight. They cannot comprehend irrationality. They expect the universe to follow predictable patterns. Use that. The galactic forces began acting in ways that made no logical sense. Ships flew backwards into battle. Weapons that fired healing energy at the enemy. Surrender messages that were actually attack orders. Communication attempts that were really weapons deployments. The extinction entities, beings of pure logic and pattern recognition, could not adapt to this chaos. Their reality-warping abilities required predictable targets. When faced with pure irrationality, they began making mistakes. Engineer Boram coordinated the fleet's final gambit. Every ship in the galactic force aimed their weapons at empty space and fired simultaneously. The massive energy discharge created artificial paradoxes throughout the battle zone. Reality is breaking down, she announced calmly. In 30 seconds, physics will stop working in this area. The entities will lose their anchor to existence. The extinction entities realized the trap too late. As the artificial paradoxes spread, they found themselves caught between realities. They could not erase what was not consistently real. They could not exist where existence itself was unstable. One by one, the entities flickered and faded. Not destroyed, but expelled from normal spacetime. Forced back into the void between galaxies where they belonged. The battle was won, but the cost was enormous. Hundreds of worlds had been damaged. Millions of lives had been lost. Entire fleets had been sacrificed to create the conditions for victory. As the surviving ships regrouped, Dr. Hyan Wu's hologram appeared before the exhausted crews. "You have done something remarkable," he said. "You have won a war that we humans could never have won ourselves. You took our knowledge and made it into something new. Something better." War Master Unji nodded approvingly. Human warfare alone would not have defeated this enemy. But human thinking adapted by alien minds created solutions we never imagined. Captain Su Jin added, "The galaxy is safe. Not because you fought like humans, but because you learned to think like humans. You refused to accept defeat. You adapted to impossible situations. You found advantages where none should exist." As the human holograms began to fade for the final time, their purpose complete, Dr. Hyan Wu spoke last. "We cannot stay. Our consciousness was preserved only to fight this war. But remember what you have learned. Remember that no enemy is unbeatable. No situation is truly hopeless. There is always a way to fight back. And remember this above all," he continued as his image became transparent. "The greatest weapon is not technology or tactics. It is the refusal to give up hope. That is humanity's true gift to the galaxy." The human consciousnesses faded away, finally at peace. Their ancient vigil was over. They had successfully passed their knowledge to a new generation of defenders. In the months that followed, the galaxy rebuilt. But it was no longer the same peaceful place it had been. The species that had survived the fourth extinction carried within them the memory of human warfare, not as a burden but as a gift. They established new academies where impossible tactics were taught. They built memorial stations where the human ships had been found. They created a new military doctrine that emphasized adaptability over strength. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council learned about the human warning. The galaxy was no longer peaceful. Every world prepared for war in its own way. Some built weapons, others created defenses, many just waited in fear. Commander Thurok now led a special military unit tasked with finding the other human ships. They had located 3 more vessels, buried on different worlds across the galaxy. Each ship contained new human consciousnesses, each with different knowledge to share. The newest human to appear was Council Prime Minho. He had been humanity's final diplomatic leader, the one who helped guide their species through its transformation, beyond physical form. Unlike the warriors and scientists they had met before, Minho spoke of strategy and politics. War is not just about battles, Minho explained to the gathered alien leaders. It is about making your enemy fight on your terms, not theirs. It is about understanding what they want and using that against them. But the most frightening human was War Master Yunji. She had commanded humanity's greatest military campaigns. When her hologram appeared, even veteran alien soldiers felt afraid. Her eyes held the memory of countless battles, victories bought with terrible sacrifice. "You want to learn human warfare?" she asked the assembled military leaders. "Very well. But first you must prove you understand what you are asking for." War Master Yunji activated the ship's combat simulation systems. The room transformed into a holographic battlefield. "This is the Battle of Last Light, humanity's final physical battle before we transcended. You will command the human forces. I will command the enemy." General Korax of the Brutak Empire stepped forward first. He was considered one of the galaxy's greatest military minds. His people had won every war they had ever fought. "I accept your challenge," he said confidently. The simulation began. General Korax found himself commanding a human fleet facing overwhelming odds. The enemy had 10 times as many ships, each one more powerful than anything in the human arsenal. Standard military doctrine said the battle was already lost. General Korax tried every conventional tactic he knew: flanking maneuvers, concentrated fire, strategic retreats. Nothing worked. The enemy anticipated every move and countered it perfectly. Within 2 hours, the human fleet was destroyed. Again, War Master Yunji said simply. General Korax tried a different approach. This time he focused on speed, trying to outrun the enemy. But they were faster. He tried stealth, but they could see through any hiding place. He tried diplomacy, but they did not respond to communication. Every time the result was the same: total defeat. "I don't understand," General Korax said, frustrated and exhausted. "How is this possible? The enemy counters everything I do before I even do it." War Master Unji smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Because you are thinking like a conventional military leader. You are trying to win by being better at what your enemy does well. This is how most species fight. This is why most species lose." She reset the simulation. "Watch how humans actually fought this battle." The battlefield appeared again, but this time War Master Yunji commanded the human forces herself. She faced the same overwhelming odds, the same impossible situation. But instead of fighting the enemy fleet, she did something that made no sense. She ordered the human ships to target their own vessels. They began destroying their own fleet, creating massive explosions and debris fields. "She's destroying her own forces," whispered General Korax. "Watch more carefully," said Dr. Hyan Wu, who stood nearby. The human ships weren't just exploding randomly. Each explosion was precisely timed and placed. The debris from destroyed human vessels drifted into the enemy formation. But these weren't ordinary explosions. The humans had converted their ships into weapons that released exotic energy. The enemy fleet, confident in their victory, sailed straight into the debris field. Immediately, their own ships began malfunctioning. Their weapons turned on each other. Their navigation systems failed. Their communication broke down. In less than an hour, the superior enemy fleet had destroyed itself, poisoned by the very wreckage of the human ships they thought they had defeated. "We lost every ship," War Master Yunji explained as the simulation ended. "But we won the war. The enemy never recovered from this battle. They retreated from our galaxy and never returned." The alien military leaders stared in shock. General Korak spoke for all of them. "You sacrificed everything to win, every ship, every soldier." "Yes," War Master Yunji replied, "because losing would have meant the end of all life in the galaxy. When facing extinction, victory is the only thing that matters. Not honor, not glory, not preserving your forces. Only victory." Over the following weeks, more alien commanders tried the simulation. Admirals, generals, tacticians from every species in the galaxy. All of them failed to achieve victory using conventional methods. Most couldn't even understand how the humans had won. Captain Sujin worked with the few commanders who showed promise. "Human warfare requires you to abandon everything you think you know about military strategy. We fight with our minds, not just our weapons." She showed them battles where tiny human forces defeated massive armies by making the enemy fight in inconvenient places. Battles where humans won by convincing their enemies to destroy each other. Battles where humans turned their own weaknesses into decisive advantages. "But how do you learn to think this way?" asked Admiral Nexus of the Harmony Fleet. Engineer Boram answered by showing them human training methods. Human children played games that taught strategic thinking. They learned to see patterns others missed. They practiced solving impossible problems. More importantly, added Dr. Haiyan Wu, humans never accepted that anything was truly impossible. When faced with an unbeatable enemy, they found a way to make the enemy beatable. The training was difficult and often disturbing for the alien commanders. Human warfare violated many of their basic assumptions about honor and proper military conduct. But slowly, some began to understand. Commander Thurok was among the first to grasp human strategic thinking. During one simulation, he faced an enemy that could predict every conventional attack. Instead of attacking directly, he made his forces appear to retreat in panic. The enemy, convinced they had won, pursued the fleeing ships into what appeared to be empty space. But Thurok had seeded that space with hidden mines and automated weapons. The pursuing enemy fleet sailed into a trap that destroyed most of their ships. "Good," War Master Yunji said approvingly. "You are beginning to think like a human warrior. You made the enemy want to go where you wanted them to go. But not everyone could adapt to human methods. Many alien commanders found the tactics too brutal, too willing to sacrifice anything for victory. Some refused to continue training, saying human warfare was inhumane. Council Prime Minho addressed these concerns during a meeting with galactic leaders. "We understand your reluctance. Human warfare seems cruel because it is designed to end conflicts quickly and completely. We learned that long, drawn-out wars cause more suffering than short, decisive ones." "But what about honor?" asked Representative Krell. "What about fighting with dignity?" War Master Yunji's hologram flickered with anger. "Honor is a luxury you can afford only when facing enemies who also value honor. The extinction threats we fought cared nothing for dignity or proper conduct. They wanted to end all life. Against such enemies, the only honor is in winning." As the training continued, disturbing news came from the galaxy's edge. The energy signatures were growing stronger. Long-range sensors detected massive objects moving through the void between galaxies. Whatever the fourth extinction was, it was getting closer. Dr. Haiyan Wu called for a special meeting of all the awakened human consciousnesses. The holographic forms of dozens of humans appeared in the ship's central chamber. They had been humanity's greatest leaders, warriors, scientists, and philosophers. "The time for preparation is ending," Dr. Haiyan Wu announced. "Our sensors show the fourth extinction will arrive within months, not years. Are the current galactic species ready?" War Master Yunji looked grim. Some are beginning to understand, but most still think in conventional terms. They are not ready for what is coming. Then we must accelerate their education, said Council Prime Minho. Even if they cannot fully master human warfare, they must learn enough to survive. Engineer Boram brought up technical displays showing the approaching threats. Based on the energy signatures, these enemies are unlike anything we faced before. They seem to exist partially outside normal space-time. Our usual tactics may not work. A new voice spoke from the gathered holograms. This was Scholar Tae-wan, keeper of humanity's philosophical warfare doctrine. Then we must prepare the galaxy for a new kind of thinking. Not just military tactics, but a complete reimagining of what war means. Dr. Hyun-woo nodded gravely. Very well, begin the final phase of preparation. Activate all remaining ships. Wake every human consciousness we preserved. The galaxy will need all our knowledge for what is coming. As the meeting ended and the human holograms began to fade, alarms sounded throughout the ship. The long-range sensors had detected something new. At the galaxy's very edge, entire star systems were simply disappearing. Not destroyed by weapons, not consumed by some cosmic force. They were being erased from existence, as if they